Hi, everybody. Welcome to your first pre-lab discussion for Chem 105 lab this semester. I just wanted to send this video out as a quick introduction to all the logistics that are going to take place throughout our course in our lab. And I know for a fact that they will not answer all of your questions, but hopefully they'll answer some of your questions. So please feel free to email me any questions you have after you watch this video. Notice all our little fluffy friends. These are our little fuzzy moles. And these moles are all wearing safety glasses. So we will talk about that as you get to lab. So let's talk about the goals for this little video. I want to make sure you're clear about what it's going to be like working in lab together again with very little social distancing. And that could feel a little weird. So we're going to have to make sure we're clear about that. How you'll be graded throughout the lab and how it impacts your course grade. I know that's a very important idea in your head. And a very quick overview about what you'll actually be doing in our first lab so that you don't walk in the door totally confused, but maybe see a little bit of what's about to come. And just so you understand, that cartoon is kind of me in a way. I would just have been wearing my safety glasses because I have been a chemist here at Wellesley College for 30 years, and I've seen a lot of things happen in our lab. So, you know, I'm all about exploring and an experiment, and using the glassware that you see down there is just, I put that up there just to give you a sense of what we're going to be playing with in lab, because some of you might not know the difference between a beaker and a flask. So I thought I'd throw that out there. But there's no such thing as a stupid question in Chem 105, like what is a graduated cylinder? I hope you feel comfortable enough to ask me those kind of questions. So let's dive into the first point here. What is it going to be like when you're in lab together? So we're going to all work safely in L210, and thank God there'll be no more Zoom labs, no more remote labs. This is all hands on deck. But what I want to give you a sense of is there could be up to 18 people sitting in our one little lab. So you might feel a little crowded compared to what we've been doing for the last year and a half. I kind of like these crowds as long as we're being safe with it. So you'll see that I'm asking you to work with a lab partner in almost every single lab, and that you sit at a lab bench with your lab partner, okay? You'll all be wearing masks. And I know you might have your very own cool cloth mask, which would be very cool to see when you walk in the door. But for every single lab, we will supply you with this paper mask, which is much safer in a chemistry lab than a cloth mask, a polyester or cotton mask. So please wear one of these throughout the entire lab. You will also be given a brand new pair of safety glasses, never been worn before, and these will be yours for the entire semester. What will also be yours is a disposable lab coat, but please don't dispose of it after the first week. You get to use this lab coat all semester long. So when you come to lab, please grab we have about 3 sizes or so. Grab one that seems to fit you well, that you feel good in, that you seem to look good in. Yeah, this looks nice. And please put your name all over it, anywhere, you know, even put your favorite molecule on the sleeve. Start, you know, graffitiizing the whole thing. It's yours, never anybody else's. So that at the end of lab, when you're about ready to leave lab, you will also be given a big, huge Ziploc bag like this to store all your, what we call personal protective equipment, PPE. And so you can shove it all in here, your safety glasses and everything in here. And then I'll show you where to store these when we get into lab, okay? And so then you'll be able to come back the following week and grab your very own bag because you'll have your name all over it as well, okay? And so this is how we're gonna try to stay safe. If we're not going to be able to be socially distant, then we can be at least masked up, glassed up, and even if you want, we have rubber gloves in our lab, you can wear gloves, okay? But just to let you know, every benchtop has been wiped down before you've walked into lab. That's because one of the duties you have before you leave lab will be to wipe down any benchtop that you're working at. So you keep your space clean for the next person, and so on and so on. All right. And so not only that, but a clean bench. You'll be responsible for actually cleaning up your own chemicals. And it'll be in a what's called an SAA hood, which is known as a satellite accumulation area. And so you and your partner will be responsible for cleaning up all of your chemicals, cleaning up your own glassware, which is something that we haven't done in the past because of COVID. So you'll be shown how to do this, and making sure that all the glassware you use is put back appropriately in the right spot. So a lot of this you'll see when you get there. One thing I'd like you to do, if possible, before you even show up to lab or during the first week of lab, is to add and join the Chemistry Safety Quiz Sakai site. It is a joinable site. The directions are right here, or on our Sakai site for our lab, you can find the directions, okay? Take the quiz. There is no fail. There is only take. So just taking it means that you're aware of everything we're asking of you, and that knowledge is great just as is. Okay, so let's keep going. What else do we got? And again, I just can't emphasize enough. Please, this is a very brief video, supposedly brief video. I have a high degree of suspicion that you should have lots of questions after it. All of this COVID stuff is making us all feel very nervous. Please express any concerns to me you have about social distancing in lab, or lab coats or rubber gloves. I want to make you feel comfortable. So you should feel comfortable and safe in lab. Let me help you do that any way I can. Okay? At a minimum, we're all going to be wearing our paper masks. We're all going to be wearing our safety glasses, and we're all going to be wearing our lab coats. So this will keep us safe from chemicals and hopefully safe from COVID as well. Cool. All right. Let's jump into how you will be graded. Woo, Chem 105 lab grade. Well, something you don't need to stress about. Chem 105 lab is pass, no pass, pass, fail. This is twofold reason. One, you will never see a lab grade on your transcript. Anything you do in our lab gets incorporated and sent to the lecturers, who are amazing, and they will incorporate whatever grade I assign for you into your overall course grade. So what we decided is, as a Chem 105 staff, is that lab and its importance is not to be a transcript grade, something that you'll be able to raise your GPA with or lower your GPA with and stress about, but lab should be a place where you get to practice techniques that you might need in future lab courses, and also, really importantly, practice concepts that you will be tested on, say, on the lecturer's midterms, because lab will be incorporated into midterms and stuff like that. So we think lab and lecture are very cohesive. We do concepts, as you'll see, even this first concept in lab we're doing is a lecture topic that you'll see in the first week or so of lecture, and something that you'll be held accountable for midterms. So let's play with it in lab, let's master it in lab, and make it easier when you go to take the midterms or go on to future chemistry courses and try the techniques there. So this is going to be about mastering techniques and concepts, and we're going to not worry as much about what grade you get on these things, but just do you pass or fail lab. Now, this totally immense version of a slide here on all these bullet points, I know is overwhelming. Please, this is, as you can see, this is located in our over here in our policy section of the lab manual, which I'll show you how to get in a second. So you can read it at your leisure. But what I want you to notice is that basically you need to just attend every lab, do every assignment, try every assignment, attempt every assignment, work on it, If you do it poorly, you get a chance to revise it. So we want you to become a master at whatever you actually are working on. And therefore, oftentimes our lab assignments will not be just one and done. They'll be one and pass, woohoo, one, ooh, let's work on this some more. And that is because we want you to become great at it by the time you take your midterms. Please feel free to read through these and ask me anything you have questions about in lab this week. All right. How are you going to know all those little items? Where are you going to find how to do all those things to pass the lab? Well, we love Sakai. So you should already be added to our course Lab Sakai site and have access to it and be able to play, and we'll be using it a lot. So I highly recommend you get comfy at checking Sakai often. When you go to our Sakai site, you'll see in the left-hand menu bar, there are lots and lots and lots of different little items. The first one is the overview. And again, it's kind of overwhelming, but I wanted to just list things like my office hours here so that you can see where I am, when you can come ask me questions on face-to-face. And notice I'm in lots of different rooms throughout the campus. But if you go to the first day handouts in our resources section, you'll see a syllabus in there, and you can find a map of where to find Simpson West in my office. And that might be a challenge I put out to all of you. Can you find me in Simpson West? That would be really cool. So if you have a place, you can always just Zoom me if you have questions too, if you don't want to try to find me in Simpson West. Okay. Here is the online lab manual, a direct link to it there. There's also one over here. If you just click on this left-hand menu bar item, it'll take you directly to our Google site lab manual. And that is very full of lots and lots of things, not just the labs we're going to do, but all the assignments that are due for the lab as well. So I highly recommend you check it out. You will be working with assigned lab partners. So clicking on this link here will take you to a Google spreadsheet that shows you who your assigned lab partner is for Lab 1. Please make sure to go check out who your lab partner is for Lab 1. Send them an email because the two of you have something that you need to do. Okay? You need to create a shared Google Doc for each other. And to find all that information, I've put a little link in here that takes you to this intense checklist. Oh, everything looks so overwhelming at first. I apologize. But really what it is just a nice little checklist to make sure you've done everything that's required to pass the lab. Take your time on it. Some of these things need to be done before lab. Some of these things need to be done after lab. All the due dates and when they're due are listed here as well. But most importantly, the majority of things are all going to be stored in a Google Doc. And therefore, you'll never be turning in a separate handout or separate results or a separate lab report. It all just goes into this one Google Doc. It's called an eLab. So I've given you a template for the actual headings and all the where everything should go in a Google Doc. It's located in our resources folder. Okay. So please check out this template. Please download it. Please create eLab number 1 and share it as a Google Doc with your new lab partner, the assigned one from the lab list up there. Please also share it with me because that's how I'll be able to grade any of the work you do in lab. You won't have to turn it in. If you share your eLab with me and you dump everything into the eLab, I see it, I'll grade it, I'll put comments in there and let you know when to go look at it for my comments. So it should be a little easier if almost all the graded information is stored in these eLabs. Okay? All right. And every week you will have a new lab partner and share and create a new eLab. Just please try to follow the directions here and create a copy of this Google Doc template. Otherwise, everybody's going to see your eLab as the Google Doc template. It's not a big deal if it happens, but it's a little embarrassing sometimes. All right. The other piece of information that is going to be graded is the tests and quizzes section. So every week, starting week 2, because it always is about the previous week, we'll give you a brief quiz, multiple choice quiz on the theory and procedure from the previous lab. So for lab 1, woohoo, no quiz, no quiz, no quiz. But before you come to lab 2, please take lab 1 quiz, okay? And you can go check out the quizzes here and click on this link and see that it might not even be available to you yet to take, because I don't usually make the quiz available till after you've actually done the lab, so that you can actually wait till you have all the information you need to do the quiz. Please feel free to ask me lots of questions about this. But these are the majority of what your whole pass-fail system is going to be based on. And again, if you perform poorly on any of these assignments, I just give you a week to try to revise them, and we talk about them and get you back up to where you need to be. Okay? All right. So I know that was fast and furious. There's no way you might be able to figure it all out, and the bureaucracy of lab from all of that, right there. But it's a start, and hopefully you'll just come and ask me questions in the first lab when we meet. So, what is our first lab? Well, our first lab is going to emphasize this word here, stoichiometry. It is supposedly a topic that you might have had in high school chem, might not have, might have hated, didn't like it, whatever. It is incredibly important as a concept, that this is the bedrock of our intro chem, and that we get comfy with it. So as you'll see in the first lab, moles galore, yes, we're going to do these reactions in this experiment, but I think when you look in the online lab manual, please click on workshop number 1. Please look at all the videos that are related to stoichiometry and not just the reading about stoichiometry, because you need to all become very, very proficient and master stoichiometry problem solvers. And I know you guys can if you just get the right tutoring and the right support and then play around with it enough. So we're going to play around with it on workshop number 1 in lab. We'll play around with that with you and your partner helping each other out and getting us all really good at stoichiometry. And then guess what? You'll see it in lecture as well. So you'll have a whole lecture about it, or 2. So this is not something you have to become a master at in lab right when you show up. But our lab itself is a stoichiometry problem. This is it right here, really kind of cool. You are going to place some iron nails in copper sulfate solution. This is the copper sulfate solution. It's nice dark blue due to the copper ions that are floating around in water. The one question we have for you is, which one of these 2 reactions is actually taking place in your beaker? And it's a very slow reaction. Over time, this copper sulfate is going to turn into pure copper solid. Now, it's not going to look like a copper penny, but it will have this little brown rust looking copper solid, different than the iron nails. So this reaction will take place on the surface of the nails, as you see in the lab manual's procedure, which you can feel free to cut and paste right into your eLab. You do not need to write a whole new procedure. As long as you reference material, I have no problem with you cutting and pasting information from the lab manual into your eLab, or cutting and pasting information from web sources, other students. Just make sure to reference them so they don't look like you own those words. Okay? All right. So this is our lab, and we want to know which one of these 2 reactions takes place. To figure that out, we need some lab data. Okay? And notice I have now also, wait, these reactions look very different. Wait, what happened? Wait, they used to be like CuSO4. And now on the next slide, it's like, ooh, copper 2+ AQ. Whoa, okay. So this is part of our stoichiometry world, is that these are molecules that become ions in water and split apart into common ions. And the sulfate evidently was just coming along for the ride to balance out the charge on the coppers. So it does no chemistry, meaning it doesn't change from reactants to products. So all I did is cross out all the sulfates and leave behind the species that are actually doing the reaction. This is called the net ionic equation. And we will be playing around with these a lot. So there's a table of common ions so that you're aware what a sulfate is. You put that in your eLab, you'll have that anytime you take a quiz, you'll know what all the common ions are in chemistry and don't have to memorize it per se, but hopefully we'll use them enough that this sulfate ion will become easy for you to pull up out of your memory. Okay? But until then, use the common ion chart. So to tell which reaction is going to take place, we really want to pay special attention to the solids that are formed, and that these numbers in front of these species in a balanced reaction should mean something to you. And if they don't, go play in workshop number 1. We have very beginning level problems all the way to very challenging stoichiometry problems. Let's all work our way up to becoming stoichiometry masters and play with this lab. And at some point right before lab 2 starts, you will need to complete lab 1's results, which is usually the next day by 5 p.m. But whatever deadline I've set for you, just make sure you follow it. And let's help each other out in doing this. Okay? Stoichiometry can be a blast. So please check out workshop number 1. Please check out the online lab manual. Please check out our Sakai site and send me any emails with any of your questions, or come to our first lab, which starts the first week of the semester, and ask me your questions then. This is going to be so cool. I'm so excited to have all of you back and to have a full lab and have it feel like a real chemistry lab. Whew, it's been a while. All right. Again, see you soon, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.